Hello and welcome to the Tomato Diaries. So today is all about choosing and preparing our growing space. So this is really important. Up until now you could have tended to your seedlings really well and have very healthy seedlings, but if you end up putting them out in the wrong place in your garden, they won't grow healthy and strong. So we are looking for a really sunny place in your garden. Tomatoes like to have full sun, which really means they need to get 6 hours or more of sunshine each day. This can be really hard in a small urban garden. We have high fences, buildings, trees, lots of things shading our gardens. So there's a few things that you can do to get around this, but really you have to watch your garden and see where the sunniest parts are. So in my garden, I'm lucky enough to have a sunny wall. My tomatoes grow really well here. I also use my roof space. I get a lot of sun up there and there's no fences to shade that out. I'm lucky enough to be able to use the top of my fence where I can have tumbling tomatoes, and this year I'm going to experiment growing them in the ground in a raised bed. So my favourite way to grow tomatoes in a small urban space is something called ring culture. So to do this, I start off with a grow bag and I give it a good shake so the soil isn't too compacted, and I lay it down in the space that I want to use. Then I get hold of some large pots. I was lucky enough to get these from my dad. He found them in the tip, and I cut out the bottom. So you can just cut off the bottom. And then another little tip is to drill holes, a few holes into the sides of the tubs. This is going to let the air and oxygen into the root systems, and that allows the tomato roots to take up nutrients. So what you're going to do is cut open your grow bag, cut 3 holes. I usually just cut across where it's marked, and then shove in your pot, get it in there nice and sturdy, and then all you need to do is top up the 3 pots with compost. So what I'm using here for my compost, this year I've tried out some nice organic peat-free compost, but I mix it in with some things that are going to retain moisture, because tomatoes get really thirsty, and if you're growing them in pots they tend to lose moisture quite quickly. So I've got some vermiculite in there, and you can see some little bits of coconut coir as well. So these are going to help the soil retain moisture and again help to aerate the soil as well. So it doesn't matter if you can't get hold of really posh compost, but just see if you can mix it in with a few different bits to help it. Okay, so another thing to think about if you're growing tomatoes in pots is watering them, because often if you just water on the top, the water's going to evaporate off and it's not going to get to the roots of the tomatoes where it's needed. So I tend to use a really simple method that's worked for me in the past. I'll just take a plastic bottle and I'll cut the bottom off. So this is where you're going to put the water in. And then there's 2 different things you can do with the lid. You can either just completely take the lid off, or what you can do is keep the lid on, use a lighter and a pin of some kind, heat up the pin, and then you can just make little holes in the lid. That's going to drip irrigate your tomatoes really nicely. So you just bury that down into the tub, and then when you're watering them, you'll just water it straight into the bottle and it'll get directly to the roots. Another thing to think about when you're setting up your growing system is that your tomatoes are going to grow quite tall, so they're going to need some space upwards and some things to support them. Here I'm just using some garden canes, and I've tied them together to be a little bit supported. I've tried loads of different things with the garden canes. To be honest, it's really about using your space and what fits well.